I'm blocking the back of the Kayla pillow, and I started with the button closure for the back piece, and that's a two-piece process here. So I'm just taking out the pins. This sat overnight. I sprayed it down with some water, and I left it about maybe 12-13 hours, and it's just perfectly flat now. So I am going to set this one aside, and I'm going to show you the next piece that we're going to be blocking. As you can see, it's quite curled. Now, you don't really need anything fancy for blocking. All I have here is just a simple piece of styrofoam, and this is just from a piece of packaging, and it's just large enough to put the pillow. And what I've done here, and you don't have to do this, is I just have a piece of fabric that's exactly the size of the pillow. So the pillow is 20 by 13. Then I know exactly where my edges are supposed to be, so I can just pin to one edge here. And I'm going to come down the side and pin into the other edge. And then I'm going to gently stretch it over to the other end here, and then also pin it at the corner. And again, gently stretch. Let's put one in the middle here. And then at the edge. Now I am going to come along and insert pins all the way along the top here. And what I'm using here are stainless steel T-pins. Now you really have to be sure that they are stainless steel, because the worst thing that could happen is you spray your piece and all of a sudden you've got like rusty pins here that transfer onto your beautiful crochet. So you don't want to do that. You want to ensure that you've got stainless steel pins. Now you can probably get away with using straight pins too, and not these T-pins. Whatever you have, that's going to do the job. So I'm also going to do the side. Now I'm going to continue to pin along the bottom here. And then you can just like divide up, like go in the middle right here, and then go into the middle right here. And just keep dividing it up until you've got it pinned down. So there we have it. Now I'm going to take the mister and I want to concentrate on my edges. This mister doesn't seem to be working overly well, but it does put out a fine mist, and I don't want to have like a lot of water coming out at once. I just want to wet it down to where I can feel that it's got a good amount of water in it. And then you just want to pat those edges down. And I'm concentrating mostly on the edges here. I really don't want to squish anything in my interior. So I can see I've got some dry spots, so I'm just going to continue misting until I've got fairly even coverage. And you'll be able to see what's dark and what's still dry. That's basically it. Once you're satisfied with the amount of water that's on there, and you don't want it soaking, it's just enough to dampen it and keep it flat. Then I'm just going to come along and just concentrate on the edges here. And again, I am going to make sure that the edges are damp enough that I can flatten them. And of course, as with most of these sprayers, they do tend to seize up from time to time. Anyways, I can feel that I've got it good and damp. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to let this sit for about 12 hours overnight, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to block the front. The second back section is now dry, and I can remove all the T-pins. As you recall, yesterday we did the upper half, and this is the section where we're going to have buttons, and there's like little holes in there. You can see you can get a button right through those. So that'll be for the closure. Now if I had another piece of styrofoam I could do this all at once, but I only had the one piece, so I've just been doing them one at a time and just letting them dry overnight. So just to show you, I've got my 13 by 20 piece of fabric that's cut out here, and once you line that up with the edge, you'll see that there's overlap there. And that's so that you're going to be able to remove the cushion inside. So this will be the button closure right here, as I showed you. We'll have buttons all along the edge here. And then you'll be able to undo the buttons and pop your pillow form out. And now we're ready for the front. So the front has a bunch of different stitches and textures. So as you can see, the bauble portion here is perfectly 20 inches. It's bang on. So it's just a matter of pinning it in place. So that's lined up nicely. And then we're going to come over to the other side and we're going to pin that even with the edge of the fabric I have underneath. And you probably won't be able to see that fabric. It's 20 inches wide by 13 high. And I'm just using it underneath so that I have a guide when I'm pinning. I didn't want to put any sort of pencil or pen or anything like that on the actual styrofoam to mark it, because once this is wet down, I don't want anything transferring onto the wall. I'm sure there are pens out there. There are disappearing pens that can be used, but for me, I have the scrap fabric, so I thought might as well just use that. I don't think I quite had the camera centered, so you probably couldn't see what I was doing down here, but that's okay, because the bubble border is essentially the same at both ends. So I'm actually going to take this mister quite high and spray it from above. I don't want to get it too soaked, but I do want it saturated enough so that the stitches are going to relax, especially along the edges here. And I don't want to squish down the baubles, but I do want to kind of get this sort of patted down in the center here, because I am stretching that somewhat. Just make sure you have along the edges, and you'll be able to feel that it's wet enough, and you can see it. I mean, I can see that the gray stitches are quite dark here. You can also see the dry areas too. So just make sure that everything is saturated. Well, I think that's good enough for now, so you'll see this again when this is dry. Well guys, here's the last piece of blocking. We've got our two back pieces over there ready to go, and now it's time to crochet it all together with a crab stitch.